If you are trying to win a presidential election, you do not want a final week of your campaign that looks anything like Donald Trump's final week, which has truly been a horror show and also has exposed really what is at stake here. Let's review the last week for Trump.
Yeah, let's.
First of all, at a rally at Madison Square Garden, comedian Tony Hinchcliffe says Puerto Rico is a floating island of garbage.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Right. Not good. Not a good kickoff to the last full week of campaigning. We then got leaked audio from...
So once again, folks, here we have David the Pakman giving you his synopsis, right? Which I basically call lies and lies of omission. It doesn't give you the whole story. I've proven it so many times over and over and over again on my videos. You can check those out. By the way, you're watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. I'm your humble host. My name is Dr. Nasser. So we begin by David basically saying that this has been a horrible week for the Trump campaign. I mean, it's just absolutely crushing. It's going to lead him into defeat. And he has some examples. But I'm just wondering, shouldn't he counter those examples with what's happening on the Kamala Harris campaign? Kamala, right? I mean, if these are so egregious. And so we're not going to do it like David does and his acolytes in the leftist media, where they take something and take it out of context and don't compare apples to apples. They compare apples to, I don't know, animals? I don't know. You pick your modifier, pick your adjective. That's what these guys do. And then they gaslight it. And they try to make it as if there's a connection between the two. So he's talking about this comedian, Finchcliffe, or whatever his name is, and he makes a comment, obviously, about it, a joke. Some people probably loved it. Some people snickered and laughed. Some people thought it bombed. It wasn't that funny. Other people got upset. That's what happens when a comedian goes out there and tries out new material. But if David is going to say that this is a absolute horror and basically a shit show now happening for the Trump campaign, that they're basically swimming in it, well, I would just like to ask David, what does he think of the following when it's not a comedian now, it's the actual president of the United States of America, right? Joe Biden's still president, isn't he, David the Pakman? When he makes a comment like this. Now, I'm just asking David the Pakman. And that's why I've asked so many times, I want to debate David the Pakman with my ideas, but he won't, because he knows he'll lose. There's no way he could stand up to me. Just by saying, yes, he's lost. So I understand he doesn't want to debate little old me. But anyways, we're going to compare a comedian making a statement to the president of the United States making a similar type of statement using the word garbage. So I just ask you out there in the David the Pakman world, all you followers of hers, you lemmings that will follow him over a cliff no matter what he says, just ask yourself, really? Where do you think the weekend of, or the week of horrors is actually been there, not for weeks, but for months with the Kamala Harris campaign? Or is it really, really you're going to try to let us think that it is with the Donald Trump campaign? Check this out and you tell me. This is the President of the United States, folks.
I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable. And it's
I'm going to let this play again, folks, so you can hear it one more time.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable.
So I'd just like to ask David the Pakman. I mean, President of the United States calling half the country or more garbage because they're supporting Donald Trump, and the White House lying about it, rewriting the transcript to the chagrin of some department that handles this inside the stenographer's pool. They didn't like it. They knew they were being asked to lie about it. Why didn't you report that, David the Pakman? So this is not a horror show for the Kamala Harris campaign, but a comedian, a relatively, in terms of stature, low on the totem pole, a comedian making an offhanded joke about the island of Puerto Rico. Oh, that's not the only thing though, David, right? Didn't Mark Cuban say something really nice about women? Now that's an apples to apples comparison, but now you're talking about a billionaire lowlife like Mark Cuban and a comedian. So there's still some huge disparity there. One's just funny, the comedian. Mark is just the twin sister of Rachel Maddow. But that's beside the point. So let's now do a little bit more of a fair comparison in terms of, let's say, surrogates. And I wouldn't even call the comedian a surrogate, really. It's a supporter, I would say. But Mark Cuban is certainly a surrogate of Kamala Harris. Let's see what he had to say. And tell me if this is not a horror show. For who's this a horror show for? I should restate. Is it a horror show for the Trump campaign, or is it a horror show for the Kamala Harris campaign? You folks decide. Let me know in the comments below, okay? But let's go to that video.
You never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever.
I'll play it
It's
again.
just that simple. Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever.
I'll play it again.
It's just that simple. Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever.
So I just got to ask you, David the Pakman, and any of you followers out there, because I'm giving you both. See, these are the lies of omission that David Pakman and the leftists and progressives and the Democrats and, everybody else on the other side, the left side, which is always wrong. This is what they use, lies of omission. We don't do that here on the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. Try to show both sides. If it's hurting you, helping you, because we're trying to... Yes, we have a narrative. I'm a conservative, Republican Trump supporter. Of course, I've got a narrative. But I always try to put things into perspective as well. And when things are going bad or things have happened that you don't particularly like, you point those out. But I very rarely see that happening on the David the Pakman Show, as you saw here. So I ask you again, this is supposed to be the horror week, because this happened in the same week, folks. And the narrative was completely taken away from the off-color joke, if that's what you think it was, by the comedian, to what happened here. And we all know what Trump did when he went to Wisconsin. Brilliant strategic move in a garbage truck, and literally threw everything back in the faces of the Democrats in the Kamala Harris campaign. Brilliant strategic political strategy. Brilliant move by Trump. So is that the worst week, the horror week that the Trump campaigning? But David wasn't finished, folks. No, he wasn't finished at all. He wants to point out some other things that are absolutely part of this horror week in this campaign. Check what David thinks is going to absolutely stop the Trump campaign. It's Speaker of the House Johnson talking about what? We're going to get rid of Obamacare and replace it with something even better. So this is part of the horror week campaign that the Trump team is having. Ask yourself the question and say, what the hell is David the Pakman? Is he okay? David, are you thinking clearly? Or is it TDS syndrome, Trump derangement syndrome, gotten so much that you may have to actually have a prescription, perhaps for an antiviral tablet, although that's not going to really help. Couldn't hoit, but it's probably not going to help. TDS is too far gone. Check this next thing out that David thinks is going to stop the Trump campaign. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Small little mistake. I point that out. Speaker Johnson's going to be in the next clip that's following. This one is where he's basically saying that Elon Musk made a statement that it's going to get a little bit, in the short term, there's going to be some pain in the Trump campaign, but eventually it's going to get better. And David thinks that by Musk saying this, speaking truth, that it's just going to turn around like this on day one, that everything's going to be hunky-dory because of the crap and the absolute disaster of the last 3.5 years. It's like an aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean going in one direction, not the right direction. And then you finally find out that you've got to turn it around. Well, that arc of that carrier, how wide is that arc? Or how narrow can that arc be? Is it going to be a wide turn and take 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years? Or is it going to be a shorter turn to turn that around? You just can't turn it around on a dime. You just can't stop and drop anchor like that on something that's so huge and so powerful, aka also like the United States of America. We're going down the wrong direction. 79% of the people think that. But to turn this thing around, you know what it's like with the bureaucracy and everything there. So he is speaking the truth and saying, you know what, there's probably going to be some short-term pain. There's already pain, and it's long-term. So we're going to continue into that, but we're going to come out of it. David the Pakman thinks that this is part of the horror week. Oh my God, how could Elon Musk, he just said something really bad that's going to hurt Trump right now. I don't think so. After this clip, it'll follow with the clip with Mike Johnson. All right? So let's take it away and hear what Elon Musk has to say.
Elon Musk, who despite publicly praising everything Trump does, acknowledges that Trump's economic plans actually aren't going to be good for the middle class. He admits it.
We have to reduce spending to live within our means. That necessarily involves some temporary hardship, but it will ensure long-term prosperity.
So he says it will be tougher in the short term for the average American if Trump gets his way. We then heard from...
What was wrong with that? He's telling the truth, not the lying crap of shit that we've been hearing from you folks, David the Pakman, and your acolytes on the left, and from Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden, and the Democrats. They've been lying, obfuscating the entire 3.5 effing years. Elon Musk gives you a kernel of truth, just a nugget. And, it just blows your mind.
MAGA Mike Johnson, who said if Trump wins, Obamacare goes bye-bye.
Good.
And don't mistake what this means. This means millions of Americans would lose health care coverage.
Not true. They'll replace it,
There's a lot
idiot.
of talk. I mean, healthcare reform is going to be a big part of the agenda. When I say we're going to have a very aggressive first 100 days agenda, we got a lot of things still on the table. But healthcare, that's part. It's the secret. It's the secret.
I guarantee you, David the Pakman's going to go, uh-oh, there's a secret plan by the Republicans. It's a secret. Oh, boy, secret. What are they doing? They're doing something under the table. Trump. He's got a secret plan that they're not divulging to the American public, and we demand to know what that plan is. You can't keep it a secret from us. That's not the way that it works. I guarantee you, David the Pakman and other people are going to take this quote, this little soundbite, play it up, gaslight it, and say, see? Republicans and Trump Orange Man bad, they've got a secret plan to destroy Obamacare. Watch, folks. I know their playbook like no other person.
Healthcare reform is not a secret. There's some really important ideas on the table, and we have a docs caucus, the physicians who serve in the House, and they've got a menu of options about this big. And I think this is part of it, because if you take government bureaucrats out of the healthcare equation and you have doctor-patient relationship, it's better for everybody, more efficient, more effective. That's the free market. Trump's going to be for the free market. You heard a little sample of that last night. We want to take a blowtorch to the regulatory state, okay?
Yes.
I mean, these agencies have been weaponized against the people, and it's crushing the free market. It's like a boot on the neck of job creators and entrepreneurs and risk takers.
So true.
And so healthcare is one of the sectors, but we need this across the board, and Trump's going to go big. I mean, mean, he's only going to have one more term, right? Can't run for re-election. Right. And so he's going to be thinking about legacy, and we're going to fix all these things. And,
No Obamacare?
no Obama. Yeah, the ACA is so deeply ingrained. We need massive reform to make this work.
No Obamacare, although MAGA Mike acknowledges that the ACA is deeply ingrained. So hardship for the middle class, no Obamacare, and then maybe the worst nightmare, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. claims that if Trump wins, he, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., will have total control over America's public health agency.
Thank God.
Polio
Thank God.
rejoicing once it heard this.
The key that I think that President Trump has promised me is control of the public health agencies, which are HHS and its sub-agencies.
Thank God. What?
CDC, FDA, NIH, and a few others. And
yes.
then also the USDA.
Nice.
Which is is key.
Don't shake your head, David.
For me, my friends.
No,
not
but for me.
And then finally, as part of Trump's last.
So I just want to say that he doesn't like, RFK, right? Not for me, he says. Well, what I'd want to know is that, who was not for me? Dr. effing Fauci, Dr. Anthony effing Fauci, and that other idiot woman, I think Dr. Brick, I think it's Dr. Brick Shithouse. I can't remember her last name, but, something like that, whatever her name is. Those weren't for me. And I just saw this on the internet. It's a documentary called, I think, Thank You, Dr. Fauci. But I think this is very apropos here, David. I wonder what you think about this documentary against Dr. Anthony effing Fauci, who literally has the blood on his hands of 20 plus million people worldwide, because he's the one that actually allowed the virus to be developed because of gain of function testing that he allowed to go on, whether it was here in the United States of America or in conjunction with the Chinese Communist Party in mainland China. Check this. This is a teaser clip from the documentary that's going to be out soon, folks. I'm just trying to give parody here. He doesn't like RFK. He thinks that's a horror show for this week for Donald Trump. I'm just wondering, when this comes out, would this be a horror week for the Kamala campaign?
I've just been going through all these different documents. There's a lot of people who have been covering this for years now. What I understand about Dr. Richard Ebright is that he is, in a sense, probably the most vocal critic of Anthony Fauci. Richard, is it true that people call you Anthony Fauci's worst nightmare?
Yes.
From what I've read, it seems like he hates Anthony Fauci and Anthony Fauci hates him.
And it's not even just about COVID. It's like been happening for the last 20 years between the two of them.
We have willful, deliberate misfeasance that likely caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Against that context, it is unsurprising that individuals would prefer a lie.
Neil Harrison is a scientist at Columbia, and he was tracking COVID since the beginning.
Scientists don't generally like to criticize other scientists, and we really don't like to use the F word.
What's the F word?
Fraud. I said the F word.
And he's now helping a congressional investigation into the origins of COVID and the potential of a cover-up.
Hi, this is Emily Kopp. I'm a reporter with US Right to Know in Washington.
So Emily Kopp is a health reporter, and around 2021, she shifted into covering the origins of COVID.
I felt like I had a moral obligation to get answers.
She's been responsible for a lot of the Freedom of Information documents, and her main focus has been sort of piecing together the behind-the-scenes communications between Fauci and this group of scientists.
So I'm gonna go see Charles Rixey. What do I need to know about him?
Rixey, he's part of this group called Drastic, which is this sort of decentralized investigative team comprised of scientists, web sleuths, and veterans.
That's me in the black shirt. I was really sick when I got COVID. And then a former Marine reached out to me and said, you should look into the origin of the virus. And from that date in 2020, I shifted my attention full time to figuring out what the origin of the virus was.
He believes COVID was engineered in a lab.
So after seeing that, folks, who would you rather have in charge? RFK, making America healthy again, taking on the food manufacturers to get rid of preservatives and dyes and all kinds of things that for decades have been put into our foods. They're causing cancers and all kinds of other diseases, and that's a whole different show that we can go into. Or would you rather have in charge, Dr. Brick Shithouse, or, that female doctor who just was a complete and utter disaster. What a hack she was. Unbelievable. Or Anthony effing Fauci, who murdered millions of people, as I said before, because of his disastrous tenure, in charge of all of these outbreaks. And we had, and unfortunately, yes, you could say that, Trump had him out there, but at the time, this is where people were pointing to. He's the guy. This is the knowledgeable person. He's the most extraordinary person. He's got years of experience battling all sorts of other diseases and other things. So we need to go to him. Yes, but there was a lot of darkness underneath that is now being unearthed. So as I say to you right now, I would much rather have RFK Jr. unearthing all of these things, shining light, which is the best disinfectant, on agencies like the FDA and the CDC and the, any other agencies that are out there that are controlling, our food consumption, that's making policy. Where are we getting these foods? What's going into those foods? All of those things. I'd rather have RFK. Anyways, let's continue and see what else David the Pakman thinks is hurting the Trump campaign. Oh, could it be Donald Trump himself? And as I alluded to earlier in the program, were masterful, genius, brilliant political strategic move, talking about Joe Biden's remark about calling Trump supporters garbage. Trump is going to a garbage truck, and David obviously is talking about that Trump slipped a couple of times or couldn't get up into those. Listen, Trump's putting on the pounds, folks. He's putting on the pounds. So you know what? Maybe to get up onto that big garbage truck and take that giant leap, to take that, it might be something inside there. Okay. I don't doubt that. But you're talking about this man's energy. He was gaslighting it. David the Pakman was talking about that Trump has low energy, even brought on a hack psychoanalyst, Dr. Harry Segal, to sort of psychoanalyze and diagnose Donald Trump. And the hack he brought on has another hackster that he's with, John Garnett, some other hack from an Ivy League college. And they have a podcast called Shrinking Trump, talking about that all the senile dementia and, his brain is deteriorating. These guys are the epitome of a-holes. They really are. They're worried about a president having some, and it's all lies and fraud and fake and everything, because they certainly didn't bring it up with Joe Biden. But now they have to do whatever they weren't doing with Joe Biden, right? They're not projecting that obviously onto Trump. Anyways, let's get to that clip. And you can see for yourself, folks, and this whole thing about energy, that Trump is exhibiting low energy and he's tired and he's not doing events. Total lies, total fabrication. But what else would you expect from David the Pakman? Lies, of course, as their good friends at TYT, Sancta Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. The Young Turks. Of course, David the Pakman is lying. Let's see how he gaslights this situation. You tell me, folks. So you tell me, folks, who would you rather have? Anthony effing Fauci or RFK? Well, we want to take our attention now to what David Pakman is saying in terms of a horror show for the Trump campaign. Donald Trump's latest political move was arriving at a Wisconsin rally in a garbage truck, basically emphasizing the fact that Joe Biden had called half of Americans that are the Trump supporters, calling them what? Supporters of Trump are garbage. And David thinks that this is bad because Trump slips or missteps a couple of times getting into the truck. And this is going to derail the campaign. I mean, this is where they've come to, folks. Trump slips, or Trump had a difficult time or was trying to get up on the first step. Listen, Trump's putting on some weight. I mean, those quarter pounders and cheeseburgers and Diet Cokes and whatever are certainly having an effect. Okay? But again, I just ask you, really? Really? This is where you're going to pin your hopes of winning the campaign on? That this is the horror show of the campaign, that Trump slightly slipped walking to the truck? And, I mean, okay, so he had to take a bigger step, or it was a little bit, clumsy or whatever. But you're going to call him low energy. Really? Let's see who's low energy.
Week, he pulls a stunt involving garbage trucks and almost falls flat on his face twice when trying to get onto the truck, as he misses once and misses the handle again, recovers, and then visibly struggles to get himself into the truck, not exactly projecting neither energy nor vigor. Any one of these things would be wild in an entire election cycle. All five happened just in the last week. And
wow, folks, that was just wild. Remember, this all happened. If it all just happened individually or something like that, who knows? But this happened in the last week. Just wild, absolutely wild that this happened. And the last thing where he said, just showing such a lack of energy, lack of vigor. I mean, he's just tired. He really is. Is that so, David the Pakman? Just please explain to me the low energy Trump must have to do this. Not in the last week, not in the last month, but in the last... Yes, I just wanted to make sure I was being correct. My math. That in the last 4 days of the election campaign, you tell me who has more energy, President Trump or Kamala Harris? Can she match this? I mean, folks, take a look at this. Friday, November 1st, that was yesterday, rally in Warren, Michigan. Yesterday, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Saturday, around 12 o'clock, North Carolina. Then Virginia, Saturday at 4 o'clock. Back to Greensboro, North Carolina, 7:30. Then he's going to Lidditz, Pennsylvania on Sunday at 10 in the morning. Then he's coming back to Kinston, North Carolina, Sunday, November 3rd. Then Macon, Georgia on Sunday. Monday, Raleigh, North Carolina. Monday, Reading, Pennsylvania. Monday, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then Monday, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I mean, how many is that in 4 days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I count them. I know you went 5 days, David. I'm going to take your 5 and raise you to 12. 12 events in 4 days. I don't even look at Kumala's schedule, but I'd venture to bet, not having looked at it, I don't think she's doing 12 in the last 4 days. I don't think so. So I'm just asking and saying, once again, David the Pakman is one of the biggest liars, obfuscators, acolytes of the leftist, progressive, and Democrats, and lies of omission. That's all this guy does. Doesn't give you both sides. He just gives you his side, which is perfectly fine. But it's perfectly fine for me to point that out so everybody knows what this guy's shtick is. And that shtick is something that he's probably buried pretty much up his derriere, you know. And that's my off-color joke there. How's that? I just said that one. I wonder if how many people think that's funny. Let me know down in the comments below. Let me think what you know, share with us. You think I'm just absolutely crazy? I know most of the comments I'm getting are very hateful. Wow, I thought there was supposed to be all this kumbaya and this kinship and joy and all this up on the left. And all I'm doing is getting attacked for telling the truth. But what else is new? Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you've been done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. Take a look at our video links. You'll see them posted here.